I'm Linda Thompson. In episode 3, Cassie reflects on the impact it's had on her to be inside the sex industry.
Tell me, how did you, whenever you would get a call from a client, how would you prepare yourself mentally?
When a client phones, like you've got your work phone and then you've got this ringing tone on it that just, every time the phone rings, your stomach just drops. If I was doing drugs at the time, I'd do some drugs before I went. You always take the money before you do the service. I mean, you'd never do the service and then ask them for the money afterwards because you're never going to get it. If I had drugs, I'd do more drugs in the toilet. Pretend I was just freshening up, put some lube up myself because I don't self-lubricate. And a lot of the time girls have to put lube up anyway because you're not turned on by the guys and you just can't get wet. And that's how you prepare yourself really. Once you're in that room and you're with them, you just click into this mode. You're there, you become this character. Everything's make-believe, nothing's real, nothing's actually genuine about myself. You just get yourself into the routine, you don't even think about it. It works for me having those two characters, it really does, because you need it to be able to cut off.
And how do you click back out of that character?
This is one of the things that I always kind of say, oh, it's not changed me, I'm fine. And you always say that, and you always want to think that you're fine. I think how it's changed me is, I'd say that sexually, I am quite frigid in the fact that I begrudge giving sex free. If someone's paying, then I'll do it, but if they're not paying, then I don't want it. It's like when you overdo something, it becomes a chore. Like if you work in a bar all day, you don't want to then go and sit in a bar after your shift. It's kind of the same thing. So for most of my life, it's been really difficult to hold down any kind of relationships with anyone. Emotionally, I'd say I am quite hard, emotionally, and you grow really thick skin.
When you grow really thick skin, how do you think that might have changed you?
It gives you a different view on men. I think had I not done the job that I was doing and I was speaking to a guy when to first start dating and then you maybe got a bit sexual with this chat, I'd be like, oh, this is quite cute. But as soon as a guy gets like that with me, I'm like, no, shut him down. Do you know what I mean? So I see all men really as pervs, which is really bad because they're not all pervs, but I see them all as pervs because I've just been exposed to so much. Like men with wives, men with, you know, and you just think it could be the next guy that I date.
The stereotype is that women get hooked on drugs and then turn to prostitution to feed their habit. I discovered from Cassie that it can be the other way around. Prostitution can turn women to drugs.
Never ever think, oh, I'm going to do a little bit of coke before I see this client, because then you always want to experience it whilst you're on coke and never when you're not. And I've made that mistake myself. And it makes it go hand in hand because you get into a routine of having to have drugs to see clients, and it's a downward spiral. It's like you do coke in order to escort, and if you're escorting all the time, you're doing coke all the time. So you become a coke addict that's escorting. It's not where you want to be because your money's getting spent as you're working. Pointless.
You said earlier that you kind of tell yourself that you're fine with it all.
Mm-hmm.
When would be the times you might not be fine with it all?
I've been in very violent situations where I've been beat up by clients. I've been raped 2 or 3 times during working. People always say, how can you call it rape when you're having sex with them anyway? When you tell the client you don't do something but they force you to do it, as in they'll hold you down and do it. Or they start to get a bit too rough and you tell them the session's over, it's time for you to leave, they will not take no for an answer, hold you down and just do what they want to do anyway. Do you know what I mean? So many girls go missing, and the girls that do go missing, if they're working in the sex industry, they're ignored. These girls are unknown girls. Nobody makes a big deal about an escort going missing. Of course they don't, because it's expected. And it's like every day if you get packed through that day and you're still alive at the end of it, you're kind of like, oh well, that's been a good day.
Some people would say that women who get involved in prostitution, well, they know what they're getting involved in.
You don't know what you're getting involved in. You'd only know what you were getting involved in had you done it. Because if you have any sign of being damaged or any weakness, that'll break you, ultimately. You never know until you've done it. I think in your mind, you always want to pretend that you're fine with it. I think everyone wants to say, oh, I'm unscathed by this. There does get to certain times, like now at the moment, I've had like a 6-7 month break where I've not seen any clients. I actually just taken time out for me. So I think in the 6 months, I've really kind of learned to appreciate that my body's my body, you know. I let my leg hair grow for a week without shaving it. I'll let my vagina hair grow in a wee bit and not really care because nobody's seen it. I've kind of rediscovered my own body in a way and seen it through my eyes and not through someone else's. You really learn to value yourself a bit more.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was younger, I wanted to be an architect. I was obsessed with Lego. And then as I became a teenager, it was hair and beauty that I wanted to get into. I'm doing freelance stuff at the moment. Hair extensions, makeup, styling, that kind of thing. I do quite a lot of volunteer work as well. I go and paint the little deer's nails down at the nursing home, which is fab.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
I want to have my own business. I want to be working in the hair and beauty industry with my own salon. Got a lot of things that I want to do, but I never ever say that I've given up escorting for life, ever. If I was to speak to myself as a 17-year-old, I wouldn't say don't do it, but I would say don't make it your whole life.
Talking to Cassie really made me think about the complex realities of the sex industry. There's a lot more to it. Find out more at endprostitutionnow.org. Thanks to Cassie, thanks to everyone involved, and thank you for listening. This is a Media Co-op production for endprostitutionnow.org.